How can an ED CLA practitioner get the most out of a seminar? Thank you for joining me on this, my journey into the constraints-led approach for BJJ. My name is Sam Battlefields, and today we're going to look at how a CLA practitioner can get the most out of an IP seminar, knowing that dead drilling and direct instruction don't work. We usually have a seminar from a black belt that's visiting at our gradings. It's a great thing. We have a visiting black belt, he brings some of his crew, he goes through some of the stuff that they've been working on, everyone oohs and ahs, gradings happen, rolls with new people, everyone's happy. Pre-CLA, it was even better. I would go in hoping that I would get some sauce, something that would revolutionize my game, but post-CLA, I knew it was going to be something different. Firstly, at this grading, I knew I was going to get my brown belt. Secondly, I knew that this seminar was going to be IP focused. The rest of the organization hasn't yet quite cottoned on to CLA, and in fact, is attempting to de-evolve to a strict and old school traditional IP pedagogy. But more so, I know this coach personally that was doing the seminar. He's not fully trad, but he's definitely IP. And considering the last couple of seminars, John Danaher and a fairly famous Australian 6th degree, I was already preempting that I was going to struggle getting any aha moments out of this. Here's the thing though, I've been looking at it all wrong. Us versus them mentality. CLA versus IP. And not seeing the forest for the trees. Ironically, that's an analogy that I've used for IP not seeing the game for the techniques. I could tell that this black belt was excited about the concepts that he'd been discovering in the last couple of years, and you could tell he'd come to these conclusions by himself through hard-fought technique collection and then deepening his understanding of those underlying concepts. You could tell he was extremely knowledgeable of what he was talking about and that he was trying to use knowledge of to attempt to provide knowledge about, just to throw in some confusing ecological dynamics speak. One of the things that studying ecological dynamics and the constraints-led approach does is provide a framework of language that forces you to look through a wider lens, to identify the overarching goals of the game and build concepts from that. The earlier you can look at the whole game, the quicker you can identify the concepts. During the seminar, this black belt gave his concept of the game. One of the issues I've had since I've discovered CLA is I've had a visceral reaction to being taught in the traditional IP pedagogy, which has made me weirdly cynical of intentions. And seeing someone like my black belt friend, in all sincerity, imparting his experience, helped me start to realize I needed to look at things differently. I needed to understand that not everyone has the language. Not everyone has found the book. In essence, I was condemning to hell those tribes in the Amazon who'd never seen a Western man, let alone read the Bible. I'll let you figure out which book I think is the Bible. So I wanted to create a little roadmap, an olive branch if you will, and that will hopefully help you as a CLA practitioner get the most out of seminars in the future. Take notes on what the outcome of the technique being shown is doing to the uke. Number 2, ask questions of what the technique is trying to do to the opponent. Ask the coach what are the most common mistakes that they see when trying to do this to an opponent. Ask what part of the technique that they think is the most important to do to an opponent. Ask what their list of the top 3 concepts to get better at jiu-jitsu. If you can, try to play a quick game live using the technique. Often seminars are taught with a step-by-step internal language. Put your hand here, grab this, use your hips, and so on. Figuring out ways to flip that language and make it into external cues is a skill and one that you can develop. Often there are concepts that can be imparted that might be hidden behind a ton of information. One of these on Friday was essentially segmentation. He used different language from the conclusions he'd come to over the years, but the concept was the same. His language was get past the hands and feet frames to gain access to the elbows and knees frames, and get past those frames to get to the hips. Being able to identify concepts in other languages is beneficial, connecting your brain with other concepts, and you might find what that technique is looking to do to the opponent. I've been going into seminars all wrong since CLA. I'll be aiming to find out what these black belts are doing when they're correcting technique, which will hopefully help me understand the attentional focus from other very experienced perspectives. And I don't want to be a CLA snob, so that I can take away more from these seminars. If you think that I'm wrong, I'd love to have you on. Go to battlefieldsgrappling.com.au and fill in the form. Everyone else, like, comment, subscribe.